Okay. Hello, TikTok live world. This is Brad Swift, also known as W. Bradford Swift, a visionary fiction author, and I'm about to invite a co-host here, Stephanie DosSantos. And let me see if I can find Stephanie. It's not the way to do it. Let's see. Let's see. All right. Welcome, everybody. We're just getting started. Good to have you. We are, all right. People starting to come on board. This is Brad Swift. I'm getting ready to invite my co-host to come join me. There we go. Here she is. All right. Okay. Hey, it worked.
Let me turn you up. Here, here. Got it up.
Welcome. You you sound fine over here. You're in my ears. So, hi, Stephanie. How are you? I'm not hearing you. Now, why am I not hearing you?
Let me move my thing here.
Now I heard.
I'm
Okay.
covering a microphone. Is this better?
Yeah, that sounded. Yeah, I could hear that time. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Very good.
I'll get kind of creative here. Is that okay?
Yeah, it's good. It's good.
I don't have a stand for
Welcome.
my phone, so it's stacked up on books.
Yeah, one of my best investments was a selfie stick that doubles as a stand. I mean, I don't almost never use it as a selfie stick, but the stand comes in very handy. So
Yes, I've been doing more live, so I may have to do that.
yeah. They come in very handy. So this is first one I've it's the first live I've done in a few months. So I may be a little rusty.
It's okay because I'm not a pro by any means, but I just like to sit and chat and ask questions. And this is the first time that I've met you, and I always see you come across my feed and your books and stuff like that. So I thought this would be a good opportunity to chat.
Exactly. And I'm having a little glass of wine, so feel free
I
to
should have brought.
partake.
I've got my big jug of water here. Trying to be good. It's still hot. Derek's already saying hello. Hello, Derek. Stay a while. I know you're on vacation.
I'm a little bit like the character in The Big Bang Theory. If I have a glass of wine in my hand, I can talk to anybody.
I see you prefer red, or at least that's what you're drinking today.
I do prefer red. There's a story behind that, but I used to be a strictly white wine drinker. Then I found out how much better uh, red wine is for certain physical conditions, of which I have one. So I partake of that to enjoy something,
That's
that is alcoholic, but not too bad for me as well. But
yes.
we're not here to talk about that
Nah.
necessarily, although I'm a pretty much open book when it comes to anything. But we are here to talk about books, and
Yeah.
particularly certain aspects of books. So um, I just thought what we could do is, ask each other questions that we think other people that are here might want to know about us and about our books and what is the life of an author and uh, anything about our books themselves. You can see I got, you know, most of
You
mine
got
back there, many of mine back there. So,
yes.
so
Let's
why don't I if I might, get started by asking you a question?
okay.
What in the world possessed you to become an author?
Oh, I've always loved to write. As a kid, teenage, the poems, life, so this or that, you kind of write to get it off your chest. But I wrote school newsletters, stuff like that. I was very interested in journalism for a while and was going to look into either just newspaper stuff, anchoring on the news, those kinds of things. Wasn't exactly what I wanted to do. Always wanted to write a book. Then life happened. I didn't know what I was going to write about, not a clue.
Right.
And life happened and that idea just kind of went by the wayside. Remarried after that and went actually to get married in Antigua and
Mm.
was getting into writing. I actually have my Antigua shirt on. I was actually thinking about writing something at that point in time. So what to write? I was like, I want to get back into this and learning about self-publishing, Mark Dawson and all those guys, the 20 books, the big names. So I was reading all about that, and our cab driver on the way to our resort had said, this is the silk cotton tree and this is what it means, and the kids will go and tell their secrets, or if they have problems they'll tell it to the tree, and it's very sacred in the Caribbean. And he went off on this story, and I thought
Mm.
that would be really cool. I wonder how many stories and things that this tree has heard from people. And the idea kind of took off after that. So when I came home, I started reading about the history of the silk cotton tree and all of that, and that's where the books came from. It wasn't exactly my original thought, but of course, as all things do, they kind of morph and change because I'm definitely a pantser. I always wanted to write, but
And those
I
who don't
have
know
been.
what a pantser is, because that sounds like it could be a little obscene, and that it's not. It's we don't think. Uh, there's two basic type of writers: those who write by the seat of their pants, who they just have an idea and they let it flow, and those who are more of a plotter or planner. And I actually
Yeah,
think I'd say it's kind of a spectrum. You might be
yeah,
well at this end of being a pantser, you might be far at this end of being a plotter, but most writers over time start to find some middle ground, and it might even vary from book to book as to which way they are. So
absolutely.
anyway, go ahead.
Oh no, just always had wanted to write, and that kind of took over. Actually, before that, my job has always been in medical, so that's why I was looking at some of your videos. I'm like, I didn't know he was a vet. That's so cool because that's what I wanted to do when I was young for a long, long time. But it kind of went into the human side of medicine at that. So I was a paramedic for 15 years, and now I've been a nurse for 12. Always in the emergency room, so it's always been adrenaline
Mm.
go go.
Oh
And
yeah.
then COVID, don't know if that's a loud word on here anymore, but it's just like I'm I'm ready to move on. I'm
The
done with the
virus,
woo woo. Huh?
the virus that we will not name. Is that what it is?
Yes,
Something
the
like
virus that shall not
that.
be named. Yes. It wore a lot of people out. I had a lot of friends that said I'm retiring early. I mean, this is just ridiculous. I mean, so yeah, I mean, it's better now. We're still seeing a little resurgence, but it's like sniffly, sore throat, which I would much rather deal with than what we started with. But it's time to
Yeah,
move on.
yeah.
It's time to do that next part of life, and that's what I would like to do is write full time. I mean, what better job in the world it is just make up stories for people. I mean,
And get
so,
paid for it. Yeah,
yeah.
exactly.
So
Exactly.
how about
Okay.
I had a question. When did you start? How many books do you have? What's your background?
Well, I just the one part. I started wanting to be a RD, which is the term that veterinarians use when they talk about real doctors. Because we have so many people, even in vet school, people would say, "Why didn't you become a real doctor?" And it's like, I thought I was a real doctor. I just treat animals instead of. Anyway, so I didn't actually start thinking about writing. It was one of those things that, this one day, someday, I'd like to try my hand at writing, even back, even maybe even high school. But it was always, yeah. But then I look at my C and C minus in English, and it's like I don't think I'm cut out for that. Um, but what initially actually got me started writing was I bought a Macintosh.
Oh,
I bought one of the first 1,000 Macintoshes off the assembly line,
wow.
and I bought it on a credit card. I bought the Macintosh and the printer on an Apple credit card. This really attractive sales lady saw me coming, and I left on a Saturday with this in hand.
There you
And
go.
By Monday, I'm having buyer's remorse. I'm like, how in the hell am I going to pay for this thing? I can't justify it. It has two programs, a McWrite and McPaint. That's all it ran. And I spent about 30 minutes trying to draw a picture with McPaint and said, nope, not making my money back this way. And so I thought, well, I've said for years I want to try my hand at writing someday. So here you go. What better excuse? I got to pay for this sucker somehow. And
Yeah.
literally, that's what happened. And
Well,
I wrote a article about, and this is while I was still a veterinarian, how 10 reasons to spay your cat or something like that for a newsletter out of Maine.
mm-hmm.
It was Purr. I remember that distinctly. 5 R's. You want to get it right when you're sending something out. And a few weeks later, I get this check back for $50. It's like,
Nice.
hey, I am a published and profitable writer. And as they say, the rest is kind of history, or
Mm-hmm.
the storied history that was beginner's luck, as it turned out.
Yeah.
But I've been writing about 30 years pretty
Mm.
consciously. I actually sold my veterinary practice to pursue a life as a writer and a combination of writer and life coach. I actually hired a veterinarian, as while I was veterinarian, I hired a business consultant who turned out to be a business coach. I really fell in love with the power of that kind of a coaching relationship.
Really?
So since about 89, when I sold my veterinary practice, I've been that combination of the two. And I've got 30 books and a 31st work in progress.
30 books, a book a year about.
Yeah, it's really more like 4 books this year and nothing in this year. And like this year, I'll be lucky if I get one, my work in progress. I will be thrilled if I get that finished and out there, at this point. But yeah, I wish I could say it was just like, oh yeah, every year, one book, every year, one book, but it wasn't, you know.
So, are,
I went through one period where I had a couple of books and I was going through the traditional route and agency and all that. And it's been about 3 years of my life trying to get that. Got an agent, really reputable agent, shot one of my books around, got great positive feedback, and nobody took it. And 2.5, 3 years later, it's like, well, I won't ever get that part of my life back.
that's what I was going to Brad or indies. So yeah, you're hitting it. Yeah.
Yeah,
So are you all
yeah.
indies?
At this point, yeah, I've considered becoming a hybrid one, but indie fits pretty well for me at this point in time. I like the independence. I like the control. Uh, I, there's things I guess I'm not complete about that past about my attempt at traditional. So this works pretty well for me. I like the indie approach. Yeah.
And that's your full
Yeah.
time income.
Well, between the coaching and
Oh,
living off of, I have a, how do I say it? I have a patron.
hmm.
Yeah, his name is Dr. W. Bradford Swift.
Yeah, we all have that, don't we?
Kind of, I have a kind of established something there, so that and so, and I'm a little bit older, so I don't need the type of income that I needed, when I was in my 30s and 40s.
Yeah, that's very true. But yeah, we all have our single patron that just dumps the money and keeps dumping it in.
Right, exactly.
That's very good.
Well,
Yeah.
I want to ask you, what do I want to ask you? I want to ask you, so we know why you became a writer, how you became a writer. Um, who do you write for? Who do you consider your ideal reader to be?
It's a good question. My ideal reader is young adult or an upper middle grade for the series I'm writing now. That
Hmm.
may change in the future. But I mean, kind of how we talked getting this set up. People who like nature and animals and magic and fantasy. My big genre is fantasy. It's a portal fantasy, so he goes under the ground through the portal of the tree and finds another world and characters and stuff. So somebody that likes to just get away and think of something that's magic. One of my
Mm.
reviews said it's good for the young and the young at heart, and so I thought that was nice too, because I know a lot of adult readers read a lot of young adult,
Yeah.
even some of the upper middle grade. They're just like, I just like the story. So that I would say would be my target audience. I'm very big in symbolism in the books and staying positive. I mean, even though bad things may happen in the book, it's always positivity wins, good wins over evil, that kind of thing.
Mm.
Not that I'm giving away spoilers, but it is a trope for sure. But marketing that and is a little different because I've totally run into a wall on that on certain platforms and stuff. So um I
Say more
just
about that. What part of it that have you hit a snag in?
the marketing of it, just because I feel like I know who that reader is, but it's kind of tricky to know where to go to find that reader.
Yeah.
Not necessarily on one platform or another. I've not tried Facebook ads. I'm doing some Amazon ads, and I had one that was going pretty good, and I either missed the email, hey, your ad is expiring soon, or glossed it over or something. I know I did not put an alarm in my phone. And I get the email, oh, we'd love to have you back. Oh, come. I was like, I never left. So I logged in. I'm like, oh, it expired. So I don't know if you're in Mark's group. I wrote, I'm like, help, it was doing so good. And, and I copied the ad and, did it again and nothing. Because they always
It's
say,
so weird.
yeah, they say if you have one that's working, don't turn it off. And they're like, oh my God, never turn them off. Just pause them. And they're like, what do you mean? Didn't you get into the ad and change? This is a tip. Did you get into the ad and change the end date? I'm like, no, it already expired. And they're like, oh no, go in the ad, switch the end date, and it should start again. I was like, no. I mean, Lord, after reading about all of this indie publishing and the ads for authors course and all these other things, apparently I glossed over that part or hadn't got that far or something, but it was like, oh, it was like,
Right.
excited to get it
Right.
started again. But we'll see if it picks up traction again. That's the thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I've done that. I was encouraged not to do some Facebook ads until I had at least my second book, hopefully third out. So I'm working on a prequel in the third book, but it's just been kind of tricky. Does TikTok work? Does Facebook work? Does Amazon ads work? I have a very, very thin newsletter that needs to be beefed up. Thus, I'm writing the prequel. So it's trying to find that reader. And I don't know if it's going to be just like a little bit from here, a little bit from there, or if I'm really going to have to hone in on some other type of social media to go where the readers are. So
Right.
that's been tricky.
Yeah. I would say that's what I found to be challenging, particularly since, I actually write under two pen names,
Mhm.
W. Bradford Swift for my middle grade and young adult, and Oren Jason Bradford for my adult fiction. Although I've contemplated maybe phasing that out. I did that originally because I wanted to keep dads out of trouble.
I saw that post. Yeah.
For those of you who didn't see the post, I got into deep doo doo with my wife when I gave I think she was about 10 or 11-year-old daughter a book by one of her favorite authors, which she loved and loved so much that she wanted to share it with her mom. And her mom started reading it and came to me like, how dare you? How dare you give my daughter, not our daughter,
Yeah.
my daughter, even though I am the actual father, how dare you give my daughter a book with masturbation and other stuff like that? That's not meant. I was hoping for at least a few more years before we had to cover that. And it's like, I didn't know. I mean, she loves it under the same name for kids and her very adult stuff. And for the most part, very adult stuff. And like, would make me blush. And that's not easy. But so I created a second, name so that that wouldn't happen. And
Yeah.
I really only have one book that has adult themes of that magnitude that would get a dad into the doghouse like that. So I'm thinking maybe over time I might actually phase out
Yeah.
Orange Jason. Don't tell him that, but don't want him to get upset about it. So 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 for me, particularly with kids, middle grade kids, I actually my middle grade ideal reader is Jeremy. I've actually created a profile for him, and there's a TikTok, introducing him to the world. Um, and I also realize it's the same dilemma that I had with when I was a veterinarian. I really connect. Part of my issue as a veterinarian initially was I connect so strongly to the animals. I just love animals. So I'd go into my waiting room, and all my attention would go to the animal. Oh, Fifi, it's so good to see you again. Hi, Mrs. What was your name? Oh, Fifi, you're doing so well. Well, the animal doesn't have the credit card. And this person over here wants a little attention, wants to know that
Mhm.
I actually know what her name is too.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like that, with Jeremy, I really love and connect with kids, but it's the parents that, you know, often buy the books or yeah, has the money. Even the kids who I said, I really want this book, and ultimately the parents. So I think it's time to actually create a profile of my ideal support person, I guess you could say, because it could be a parent, could be a grandparent, could be a teacher, something like that. Who can say, oh, hey, you heard about this author, W. Bradford Swift. So maybe we can collaborate with that together and see what we can do with that, because it is a challenging part of being an indie author or any author, as far as I can tell, is the marketing and sales component of it, the business of the writing, business itself.
Oh yeah, it'd be great to write all day, but in the end, you would like to recoup those dollars back for sure, plus some. At least I
Oh,
would.
really? Wait, who says?
That's right. So right. Yeah, I mean that's funny you say that about the animals because when I was wanting to take the vet route, I did work at a vet clinic for quite some time. And it's funny because you remind me of my first boss. I mean, looks, everything. It's very uncanny. It was like, oh my gosh, who's that? But
You
and
weren't in
that's
North,
what
you
you
didn't work in North Carolina, did you?
know.
Okay.
Yeah, but no, it is true. You would know the animals better than you would it's Mr. Smith or Mr. Jones or whatever. Like I remember, like my vet knows all my dogs. Oh my gosh, she doesn't care about me. She's like, oh well, how's Blitz and how's Trevor and da 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 da. Oh yes, I remember. It's like I am here way too much. Just here too much. So anyway, but
Right.
oh, God,
Right.
let me see what I had on my list. As far as um the animals in the books and magic and stuff. I'm assuming I saw a video on I forget the name of the series, but they help animals and they go to New York and they go to Amazon and all of that. That's your middle grade or young adult series and kind of fill me in. Yeah, there it is.
It is the Zach Bates Eco Adventure series. So that's the name of the series. And what do you want to know about that? What were you getting
Just
ready to ask?
do you think, I mean, was that your first series or is that where you really like to write the best? Was it the love of animals and being a vet that kind of drew you to that? Just kind of the story behind that.
Yeah, it was not my first series. I actually wrote a couple portions of two different trilogies that I eventually wove into one mega series of 6 books. And we can that
Mm.
under that's my Orange Jason Bradford primary series. Uh, but quite a few years ago now, I decided I looked at my own experience growing up reading. I got introduced to reading in the 4th grade when my mother, my older brother, and I moved to Raleigh next to, thank goodness, a children's librarian. And she introduced me to reading. And I gravitated to the fantasy and science fiction area. And one of the series that I loved was the Tom Swift Jr. series. Not only because of the same last name, but because he had this I mean, I don't know how many books, tons of books. Tom Swift and his nuclear submarine, Tom Swift and his gadgety type thing, and I would love that. But when I started thinking about, well, what would I really wished I had. What series do I wish I had could find back then?
Ah.
Was I want a book about this young guy who, you know, has a deep love for animals and an interest in the animal life itself, and who believed in magic.
Mm.
And that was Zach. Zach Bates, started to emerge. And not too long after I had that idea, there was a video that was circulating on YouTube, and it was of a young girl. This was before the most recent one. I can't think of her name offhand, the one that's most recently done this. But this was a young girl who went and spoke to a conference. I think it was a United Nations type conference, um, pleading that something be done about climate change and the damage that's being done. And it was an amazing story. And I thought, well, what if Zach did that? What if Zach got hired or blackmailed by this magic cat and her flying dog companion, and got thrust into, we need for you to go speak to this international conference of world leaders and convince them to quit messing up the planet for the rest of us. And that's Dominion overall.
Hmm. That's interesting. There's some kind of similar ties with my book, so I'm gonna have to pick that up and start the series. I'm added to my list here, so because I'm
Hmm.
like, it's very middle upper grade because Talon has to find the old ways of the island and bring them back, and he's very into animals. He's vegetarian. He doesn't like to eat eggs and meat. He thinks that's terrible. But even though I love a good steak, that's not me. But but he doesn't like it. But he has to bring back the old ways and stuff because people are kind of they're trashing the island, and they're selling out,
Hmm.
and the animals are gone, and the traditions are gone, and all of that. So they kind of similar veins. So that sounds cool. So I'll
Yeah.
have somebody
Yeah.
sending us likes. Thank you, whoever sent us likes. I can't see it; it goes by so fast. So,
Yeah. I was just looking like, I want to take just a moment and say, I'm 21 years old trying to write a children's book. Wow, go for it.
there you
I
go.
mean, really, I wish I had started when I was 21. Do you think that part of the game is flooded? I don't know if that is on the same vein. I'm not sure what
I don't know what that
part
is.
of the game is flooded. Okay.
Mhm.
But please, I do encourage people. I know there's all sorts of activity. It's been a while. I can't quite tell what that all means. But if somebody comes on and you have a question of either one of us, no matter which channel you happen to be on, post them, and then we'd be happy to misanswer it for you.
It's another author. Okay, I'm gonna butcher this name. Author Beagle's Art Origins. Is that right? That's who sent us likes. But thank you. What do you write? So fill us in. So that's a long one. I'm sitting here trying to look with my old eyes, going, what is the name of it? Yeah. Everybody goes, oh, old rise are right. I'm like, yeah, I'm older than you think I am. I refuse to grow up. So
That's right. That's right.
So there is magical elements. There's obviously the nature and animal elements in the book. Or is it kind of elemental magic, or is it more just kind of fantastical superpowers magic?
Well, the main magic is Rakit. Rakit the magic cat. She's reported to be the last living magic cat, and we don't know how old she is. She lies about her age, But we think she's in the hundreds of years of age. In fact,
I gotta get this
let me
book.
get one other book.
I gotta get this book. This sounds so much like my mentor character. He's like 300 years old.
This this is a prequel. It's really like a novella.
I
Raket's
saw that.
initiation.
So you can
Yeah.
buy that, or is that one off of your newsletter?
You can get it. Actually, this is kind of the one you can pick up from my website, wbradfordswift.com, as a way of an introduction to the Zach Bates series, and it goes into how uh, a a black alley cat kitten in the UK becomes the last living magic cat. So she's the one that's got the magic, even though Samson, her Newfoundland dog
I love me.
companion, she considers Samson her servant. He says, "No, I'm your companion, your partner in this." But he's a flying dog, so they fly around on his back. But his magic actually comes from Rake. So
Oh,
that's where the magic is. And I don't really know what you mean by
uh,
elemental
the
magic. So
fire, earth, water, air. Very
yeah,
nature centered. Yeah.
yeah. Not yet. It doesn't. But maybe I'll slip that in the next in the next book.
Like to throw
That
fireballs at each other.
well, she gets a lot of her power, or when she really needs extra magic power, she has a little secret pouch in her belly area. She pulls out a little sachet of super duper super powerful catnip
That's a
that
lot.
she uses to augment her magic powers. Unfortunately, it gets pretty unpredictable what the magic will do in that case. In some cases, so.
Well, we need to add catnip as the fifth element. It sounds like.
Well, that would be vegetable or something. I don't know.
Yeah, there you go.
Plant based, purely plant based. So,
Yeah, that's right. Let's see. We always talking how many books. So, besides that, the rest of your books, you said science fiction and fantasy. Would you say the majority are fantasy or science fiction? And are they all very different, or do they have similar themes or backgrounds? Or
yeah, I would say then it's probably each of them are somewhat unique. So I've got the Freeform series under R and Jason Bradford. That's 6 books, all of which are science fiction. Generic genetic engineering gone bad, combined with an alien invasion that nobody knows about until it's too late. So purely science fiction. Then, if you look at these books back up here,
Mhm.
pull that one up. The Babel, the
I saw.
Babel and Rabble. That's a cosmic conspiracy series. It's mostly science fiction, and I would say this is more in definitely fine for young adult, older teenagers. And it's mostly science fiction, but it has a cosmic consciousness. It's kind of a vision. I consider it visionary fiction because it's
Mhm.
really about a young boy who is the next in evolutionary leap in humankind,
Wow.
and so how he actually connects humanity with the rest of the cosmos. So
Mhm.
deep, no, but it's fun. But it's fun, and in the meantime, he visits in his own head. He visits Wonderland, Neverland, and Oz. So a little uh, fantasy in there as well.
So you have some portal fantasy. He has to go to other places. I'm writing this
Yeah,
one.
yeah, yeah.
Because Land of Oz. I'm from Kansas, so that's a good one for this girl. But we talk about with your ID, the visionary fiction author and the cosmos and stuff. Oh my gosh, I've been into some Gaia TV lately.
Yeah, oh
Interesting
yeah.
stuff. And my love here, Dr. Joe,
Oh yeah.
or his books. So been very into that. So that sounds like those may make my TBR. For so,
Yeah,
yeah.
I love visionary fiction, and I notice the more I write it, the more I find books that don't identify themselves as visionary fiction, but I do.
Yeah.
You know, I just finished reading, actually read and reread The Overstory by Richard Powers.
Mhm.
And if that's not visionary fiction, I'm like, you got to be kidding. That's very much visionary fiction.
Yeah, I started that one in my Kindle, and I must have gotten busy or something because I was looking at your videos and I was like, I have that book. I've got to finish. I'm very bad at starting. Not that they're bad books, but
Right.
just I'm very bad. I either have stuff that comes up or whatever, or I get interested in something else, or oh, that one sounds good. Saw something shiny. Let me grab that one, or got to work, or I've got to write. Or whatever
Yeah.
it is. So
Well, I found I read and enjoy reading even more than even though I've read, all my life since I discovered immersion reading, which is reading, having the book in hand, reading it like this, but at the same time having the audio book going in my ears at about 1.5 speed. So
yeah,
it keeps my attention and keeps me from having to read a page and say, well, I just read that page. I don't have a clue what I read. It just keeps me engaged in the story. So
hmm,
particularly something like The Overstory, it's a pretty dense book. It's got all sorts of stuff. It's got probably, a dozen or more major characters, and
oh, wow.
it's really important for me to that's not a book I could just listen to, nor a book I could just read. I have to have both to get
Yeah.
the full impact of it.
I'm looking at comments here. Nicole, she says, not a subgenre I hear mentioned much. Which one? We talked about 5 of them that just went by.
I would guess
Yay for audiobooks.
probably visionary fiction.
Probably visionary. So,
Yeah.
when you market your books, do you put them under like metaphysical or magic? Because I know I do that, like mythological and magical realism and stuff like that is where my books usually go. Oh, yes, she confirms visionary. Where do you
Yeah.
put your book when you do that?
It depends on the book. I wouldn't put uh, Freeform that
Mhm.
series as visionary fiction. I would put that as science fiction, uh, uh, high tech science fiction, something in that genre. Um, I actually considered the Zach Bates Eco Adventure series visionary fiction because my definition of visionary fiction is it's a book that first and foremost is entertaining,
Okay.
and also in the process of reading it, you're left with a new possibility for life. You're whether it's a personal thing or you see a bigger, like for the Overstory, I have a renewed appreciation for uh, trees, for the trees around us.
Yeah.
And part of that came from, I took a 2-week trip down to Ecuador to the rainforest as part of my
Mm.
uh, research for my next book and part of my own healing journey. And I came back completely changed. So when this book showed up, like, of course I've got to read it.
That's cool.
And, because it's having that whole new relationship to the rest of life that's just surround. I mean, I live in paradise here in the North Carolina mountains, so I'm surrounded by beautiful trees and
Yeah.
plants of all descriptions, of which I know almost none of their names. I'm learning. I've downloaded an app so I can go up and find
There
out.
you
Oh, what's your name? And what's your name?
you can say that's a pretty tree. That's another pretty tree.
That's
That's another.
right.
That's their name.
I recognize you. You're an oak.
Yeah,
Okay, well, yeah, maybe.
yeah.
But
And
yeah,
last summer in Gatlinburg. So
Mm.
in the Smoky Mountains. Then we crossed over into North Carolina, went to the Biltmore and did the things with the falconry and sending the birds off was very cool. So it is absolutely gorgeous to die for up there. So
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
right. So that's
Yeah.
cool. Yes. Nicole says she has to run. Love this interview. Good.
Oh,
Thanks,
good.
Nicole.
So did I, or so do I.
If I could figure out a way to repost the lives, that would be amazing. I know some people take them and they download them and they put them on a YouTube channel, but other than that, um, I would sure love to TikTok, be able to like, hey, rebroadcast or something, because during different times of the day, I talk to a lot of people in the UK or wherever, and it's like either super late for me or super early for them, vice versa, and it's kind of tricky getting times together. So it's like I wish I could share them again for people that wanted to come and listen, because I always find all kinds of different tips and tricks or websites or whatever to go to. Oh, I've never heard of that. Let me write that one down. That
Right.
would a
Right.
lot of stuff.
Yeah. I'll give some thought. I'm with you. It's like, I have had some really fantastic, interviews
Mhm.
and just, conversations like this back and forth. And then, okay, what do you do with them?
Yeah.
And I do have a YouTube channel, and I'm pretty active on Facebook, but,
Mhm.
you know, where can you put them where people could actually find them
Yeah.
and enjoy them as well?
I think I could take bits of it, because they download to your phone. I have not figured out how to do it on the computer. For some reason, it either doesn't let me or I'm just technologically inept, which is highly possible. But I would like to get them onto a hard drive instead of my phone. But you can go in your phone and trim that down or save as new. You can take little bits of it. I suppose I could repost that, being on TikTok, as long as it's not longer 3 minutes now, I think we can go. But
Yeah.
that something to do with content, I guess, when you have certain questions or people say different websites for hints and things. I think that might be good. That's about as far as I've gotten on that one, but I would like to do it again. So that's cool.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
what's your favorite book you've written? Because you have 31. I only have two.
Yeah. They're all my children. I have no favorites.
That's good. Yeah, nobody believes that, do we? Come on now.
See that's why my wife and I decided to only have one child, because we when people ask that question, we can point to it's her. Amber Nicole Swift is my favorite child.
That's right. And then you will be lying.
Um, it's tough. It really is. As far as the series, I really love the Zach Bates series as a whole. And quite honestly, I think each book gets better. Each book gets better as I get to know the characters better. My writing skills improve and all that. I think the other one that I'm really pretty fond of is the Babel series itself, because it's that visionary fiction aspect. I found it very entertaining. There's not really any animals in the first book, but there's a ton of animals in the second book, the rabble. There's two raccoons, a lone wolf, and a family of crows that team up with the main character, Bobby, and become his companions in his quest to save the world, basically. Aren't we all supposed to be saving the world? Yeah. So I really have enjoyed that aspect of it, and there's a book three in me that's got to get out here someday.
Is that the final book? Book three is the final?
I think so. I think I can tie. I think I can tie them in the third book. Yeah.
So,
Yeah, it's
uh,
like with the Zach Bates. Each story is more or less a standalone, but it's got the same character. So I usually encourage people to start book one, but you could be fine if you figure like you wanted to pick up Ghost Elephant, because you
mhm.
have an affinity for Ghost. Not Ghost, but oh yeah, if you had an affinity for Ghost, but particularly if you had an affinity for elephants. Um, and so it's intended to be a continual,
Yeah.
no end in sight type thing.
Okay, so you're leaving that one open. They could travel somewhere else in the world next year you get a wild hare.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay,
They're right now in the rainforest trying to save the entire rainforest from the bad company Consolidated Enterprises.
right. All the palm oil farms. I guess they're not necessarily in the jungle. They're more what is Sumatra, I think.
Well, they're yeah, a lot of the palm oil farms are what used to be in the rainforest, and they the rainforest so they could put the palm oil and the banana oil and the pasture land for our beef and all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Ever since there's some animal welfare groups and things that I follow online and that I donate to, excuse me, every year. And ever since I found out, I think it's over there like in Sumatra and Thailand area, because tigers are like my favorite thing on the entire planet. You cannot convince me otherwise. Tigers are my flippin' thing. And when I found out, because there's only 5 subspecies of tigers left out of 8, very close to 4 now. But when I with the Sumatran tigers, but not also orangutans. They have elephants and all kinds of things there once they planted all the palm oil. I'll tell you what, this girl loves a good Oreo cookie. I have not touched a single one for like 2 or 3 years, which helps with the belly, not gaining. But I was like, oh, they've got palm oil, Well, this girl also loves Reese's peanut butter cups. And I was like, oh,
Oh,
God, they don't have palm oil. Let's go crazy. But there are little things that you can do. I'm like, nope, got palm oil, I ain't buying it. And oh my gosh, you not believe how much stuff has palm oil in it. There's
yeah,
got to be another way to fix stuff, So I'm like, ugh. So I still eat
yeah.
some things that have well, but I'm like, ugh.
Well, from what I understand, there are some sustainable palm oil farms. And I don't know exactly what that means, except that they're supposed to be not destructive to the planet. And so it's worth looking in if uh, if your product has palm oil in it, or what's the source of that palm oil.
That's
So
true.
maybe you can have an Oreo cookie, but I would be surprised. I don't know that Nabisco
That's right.
necessarily. Yeah,
We'll
but
just
I
keep
think
that thought in mind because if I
yeah,
opened a pack, the whole pound is gone in 2 days.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
gone. So
exactly.
yeah. But you talked about going to the Amazon and the rainforest and stuff, and I am married to a Brazilian, and we've
Ah,
been to Brazil times, but we've not made it to the rainforest yet. So we thought, do we want to go to Amazon or do we want to go to Pantanal? Because I really want to see the jaguars so
mm,
bad before they're all gone,
yeah.
and so we've been looking into that. So next year is our anniversary. We've got a big trip to Fiji planned, but otherwise we'll be heading back to Brazil as soon as we can. He's actually in Brazil right now, but with family stuff. But yeah, what I kind of want to hear a little bit more about this trip. This
Well,
trip to the
yeah,
Amazon, where you went and what you saw and
I,
everything.
I, I was in this 30 plus year of writing. There was quite a few years that I was a freelance writer for magazines,
Okay.
and I had created a writing project called Project Purpose, which was to write and publish articles about people living purposeful, passion-filled lives. And one of the people that I interviewed was John Perkins. And John Perkins has written a number of books himself, but he was writing all about shamanism and what he's learned in traveling around the world around shamanism and the rainforest and all that. So that was like 25 years ago. I wrote this article and published it in Intuition magazine, which is no longer in publication, unfortunately. Um, so I started this. I knew this next book, the fifth book in the Zach Bates series, I wanted it to be about them revisiting the rainforest. So I started doing some research around the rainforest and da da da. And I'm doing a research and I'm doing all this research on Google, and da da. And I find myself back at my own website, wbradfordswift.com, where I've got most of the Project Purpose articles. And there
Oh,
was the article about John Perkins. and I loved it. I read it. I loved it. It's like, man, who wrote this thing? He's a good writer. And, and it reawakened to me like, oh my gosh, I remember he he had started a company, a nonprofit called Pachamama Alliance, to take the small groups of people from the north here in the United States and other areas, the northern area, to learn from the indigenous people in the rainforest.
Cool.
And it's like, I got to look into that more. So that was like on a Monday. By Wednesday, I had had a Zoom call with one of the guides that takes the small groups, and said, "Yeah, this is for me." And I registered, like
In 2 days?
48, 72 hours, yeah, 2, 3 days, and because
Wow.
there was a trip coming up the very end of April, first part of May. So the Pachamama Alliance is a phenomenal group that's been doing this, taking small groups down to the Ecuadorian part of the rainforest and the headwaters of the Amazon, where you
Mhm.
actually spend time with the Sapra and the Achua people, the native people that live there. And you spend time with them, and they go through these, cleansing ceremonies, and they introduce you to, their plant life and their way of living, and just allow you to really be there and appreciate the beauty of the rainforest and their relationship. I mean, they have a intimate. I like I look out and I was like, yeah, I know a oak and I know a maple. Maybe they know all the species. They don't do that. They know them by their names. They know what that species will do, what that particular plant will do,
Right.
how you use this plant for this illness. You do this when you take this if you want to have if you want to have a dream trip. They know it all, and they want to continue to live like that.
Wow.
And we're decimating their ability to do that. So I came back, and it was transformational. I just do not, you know, I play a lot of senior softball. I'd be out playing senior softball and standing there waiting to get up to bat, and look around like, wow, look at these trees, man. And I mean, I've already been out in that field 200 times, but suddenly I have a new appreciation for the beauty around me. So it was an amazing trip.
Yes.
Amazing, amazing life.
So mostly their way of life and stuff. It wasn't like a wildlife trip.
No, it's not a tourist trip either. It's going and being with their way of life and learning from them. It's like the whole part was like, don't come down and tell us how we should live. Let us show you a new way of living, and not a new way, an old way of living that actually could save the planet.
So
And
very like totally immersive. Like you're even talking about reading in the audiobooks, totally like immersed in how they live.
so, yeah, exactly. Yeah, you're living with them, for those days, and few days here and few days here, and then there's our two guides were just phenomenal. They were just so
Hmm.
caring for us, and made sure that we were always well taken care of, and also again to kind of make that connection because none of the Sapra or Ashwa speak English, and
Oh,
I don't even speak Spanish. So,
yeah.
everything had to go through translation, translators, but it worked. It really worked well. I would love to go back.
That's cool. Yeah,
So,
that and translation does take some time. Yeah, I know.
huh? Oh yeah, it does. Yeah,
Time.
yeah,
My Portuguese is
exactly.
pretty rusty.
Well,
It's
we would
bad.
actually go. We would if we'd have like a question or if we wanted to say something, we'd go to particularly with the Ashwa because they didn't speak even Spanish. So we could go. We would speak the English to the Spanish speaker. She would speak to the guide who speaks Spanish in Ashwa. He would then speak to the Ashwa leader.
Wow.
The Ashwa leader would say whatever he said, and so you didn't get a whole lot of questions that asked and answered, when they have to go through that series, but it was worth it. It was worth
Yeah.
it.
Makes your
Yeah.
question count. Not a lot of small talk there, huh?
No, exactly.
It's like, why are they asking me about the weather, So, oh gosh.
Ah,
What up? Man, we've been on 54 minutes already. I swear. I could get
wow.
lives, especially when I'm talking and meeting new people. I'm like, okay, well, how did this start? And what's this from? Tell me about that book. It's like, my gosh, it's like 45 minutes later. And I could go on here for hours. I know. I don't know if
Well,
you've Wendy
I
Jones, but the one that started this whole thing for me. So it's your fault, Wendy. So we stay on
Wendy
forever.
Jones started. Oh, okay,
Yeah,
okay.
she's awesome.
Started you on TikTok or doing face
She,
or lives?
lives, yeah,
Gotcha, gotcha.
totally. Yeah.
Well,
I don't know if
I've shared.
she's awesome.
Yeah, yeah, I know she is awesome. Yeah, I haven't been on a TikTok live with her yet, but
Yeah.
um, so I've shared a little bit about my work in progress, which is Rainforest Shaman, the trip and all that. You have a work in progress?
I do. I don't have it on me, but the first one has the tree on it, the silk cotton tree. So that's telling the tree number one. I wish this had a reverse filter. And book two has the spirit jaguar. He's on fire. He's kind of that elemental part. That's book two. Book three is in development, but I'm actually actively writing my prequel. I talked to quite a few people in the 20 books group and stuff. I'm like, okay, well, now I've got book two out and I've heard, you got to stack these, get your backlist built. I'm like, prequel or book three? Because it's like, I'm going now. And they're like, prequel. I was like, not book three? Like to sell? They're like, who are you going to sell it to? Prequel. I was like, okay, I get it. I get it. So I did
Prequel.
Beswick.
Yeah, it's prequel.
Yeah,
Go for the
there you
prequel.
go. Which I'm going to we're done. And I said, I told Adam Beswick, he's also on TikTok. He does some kind of retellings and stuff like I do with folklore and things. And he's on there and he goes, so how long is it going to be? I said, well, it'll probably be about the length of my other books, which are in the 80-ish thousand range. And he's like, no way, girl. And I was like, wait, me? He's like, 10. It's like 10. I can't tell. I don't know if you've noticed, but I'm kind of wordy. So I'm like, I can't tell this in 10,000 words. I was like, how about 40? He goes, 25. It's like we're gambling or bartering back and forth on how long it's going to be. But it
Yeah,
has been interesting because he made a point of, he goes, it makes you be more concise. Get all of your stuff out in a shorter amount of time. He goes, it's like going to Costco or Sam's or whatever. You get your sample. You don't get half the package. You you get a little bit. Then you
yeah,
want to buy the rest of the package because the prequel is going to talk about there's different feuding families in the books and stuff. So it's going to kind of go back and say why that started. You get little hints in the books, but that's going to be kind of the deal. And I will try to hint at what my ending will wrap up being after book 4 or 5. That's the plan, is 5 books. But right now is the prequel. I'm like on chapter 2. I don't want to make it over like 10
yeah.
chapters. So I've got the house to myself till Friday. So I need
So
to
you can
sit.
be able to knock it out and get it published,
I need to, but I've been decorating for fall, doing all other things. So I'm like, it's still like 98 degrees here. I'm like, I need fall. I need fall right now. But that's what I'm working on. It's just I want to finish this series and I want to move on to something else, which I still want to stay in the fantasy realm, but I will probably do more uh like competition type. I don't want to say like Hunger Games, but those things where you have to either battle or solve a mystery or a riddle of
Hmm,
some sort. I don't know. That's kind of got my interest, but I haven't even got so close to even getting any ideas. I'm like, I got to finish this one first.
right,
So
right.
that's
Yeah. Well, I would definitely encourage what he's saying, 10,000, 15,000, something in the,
yeah.
shorter area, to entice them to say, this is my writing style. This is some of the characters that you'll meet, I mean, my,
Uh-huh.
my, my prequel, Reika's initiation, is really just about Reika, and she's not even Reika. at that point. You know, she
How long is it? Do you know?
probably about 10 to 12,000
Okay.
words.
Okay, so I can kind of like compare links. Okay.
Yeah, I would say it's more like in a long short story or novella size.
Yeah, probably
You
end up.
know, and it it has a first chapter or two of Dominion overall in it as a bonus. So
Oh,
again, to
get you moving. Yeah. Cool.
introduce people to the other characters, and so they can
Yeah.
decide whether or not it's for them or not. Yeah,
I'm
very
excited.
cool.
New books. I'm excited.
Oh, and my books are on audio as well.
Ah, very good. I've
Not
not
all
done,
of them, but the Zach Bates series is on audio. Yeah.
yeah, that'll be good. And
Ben,
so go ahead.
I said Ben Fife, Benjamin Fife is the narrator. He does it. I think he does a phenomenal job with,
Oh, uh,
with he's done all four of the books, and yeah, he did the Breakers Initiation as well.
nice.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's always nice to keep that same voice. And a lot of people have asked me, "Are you going to do audiobooks?" I'm like, well, if I can find just the right voice, and I did, and I talked to the guy, and I just felt like he had like the Caribbean voice of God because I do want a Caribbean native speaker. And
Hmm.
he said, "Send me some information, this and that." We chat on the phone, chat on email, and for some all different various reasons for him, he declined. But I was just like, "Oh, it's so sad," because I made some posts, here on TikTok. Hey, does anybody know? I've, the groups that I'm in on Facebook. Does anybody know of anybody? And they're all sending me good narrators, but they like their character, like they can do a British accent, they can do a whatever accent, but they're American. I'm like, not what I'm looking for. I want that natural, I want that natural voice. So I'll know it when I hear it. Now, if
Yeah.
Morgan Freeman would audio narrate my book,
I don't
I'd
think
take
he's Caribbean.
I know, but I'd take it. He's like my crush for like one of the main characters in the book. So I was like, oh, just that would be so awesome to have Morgan Freeman be that character. But yeah, audio's coming, but it may be so.
Very good. Very
Yeah.
good. Well, I think we should probably finish things up. And
Say,
I believe it's, if I remember how this works, these do get saved to our
mhm.
phones or whatever.
Yep.
And maybe offline, maybe through Facebook or whatever, we can explore how to post it somewhere and send people to it, see what happens.
Yeah, and I think you go to Creator Tools, Replays, Live Center. You kind of have to mess around, but it'll say replays somewhere. I have to tinker around to find it, but it does say
Right.
replays, and
Yeah,
they
I know it's over here on me. I don't know if because I invited you, whether it'll be on both.
hmm. Yeah,
Okay.
I did
All
one
right, good.
last week,
All right.
and it did the same thing. The only thing, if you ever do three people, to where let's say we would be on and we see someone, hey, join us, and we click the button to invite them. I think it only does it if there's two people, and if there's more than two people, only the host that started and invited people can download it. That's what happened.
Gotcha.
A threefer, and I couldn't get it because I wasn't the host. I was like, ah, it was a really good one. So, but that's okay.
Well, you let me know if yours didn't get saved. It sounds like it does. We'd be fine. And like I said, I'll download it, and if nothing else, I can put it on YouTube, and we can send some people there and
There you go.
see what happens.
Awesome.
All right. It
Cool.
was
Well,
great connecting with you.
it's finally nice to meet you. Like, not in real life, but real life. So,
Well, it's as real as it gets these days.
that's right. You're no doubt. Very good. I'm gonna get me some books.
All right, good,
All right.
good. Looking forward to hearing
All
from you soon. Take care.
right. Thanks.
Bye bye.
Bye.